Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kristen Krambeer, Advocacy Program Coordinator for the ARC of Iowa and its chapter. Thank you for joining us for our new series, Let's Chat, where we take 10 minutes to have discussions with professionals and experts in their field, topics that matter to individuals. I am thrilled to be joined by John Speer of Grantwood AEA. John, thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so John, tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do with AEA.
I'm John Speer. I'm the Chief Administrator at Grantwood AEA. The Chief Administrator position would be sort of the CEO of the organization. So if you would equate it to a school, a superintendent of a school district would be very similar to the Chief Administrator of an AEA. And I'm the Chief Administrator here at Grantwood AEA. We serve 7 county area in and around the Iowa City-Cedar Rapids corridor. And we work with about 74,000 students in that footprint.
And so out of that, so that's your section for the AEA for the state, but how many AEAs are across the entire state of Iowa?
There are 9 AEAs, so
Okay.
we are one of 9. We're the second largest.
Okay.
Heartland would be the largest AEA, but we are the second largest here in the state of Iowa.
Okay. And as far as AEAs go, what do AEAs do?
So nationally, we would be known as an educational services agency. So 48 of the 50 states have some organization like an AEA system. So what we do is we support schools, students, and families in 3 areas: special education services, media and technology, and then education services. And EdServ would be things like science, literacy, and math.
And how many, like as we're looking at this, do you know roughly how many students that you support specifically in the areas of disability services?
In our AEA, we would have somewhere in the neighborhood of 12,000 students who have IEPs or individual education plans. So we would support all of the students, families, and districts who have students with IEPs. We would specifically provide some direct support. So if your student would happen to receive speech language services, occupation therapy, physical therapy, those services, we actually are Grantwood staff. So we would provide those services either in the home, if they're not a school-age students, in the preschool, if they're in preschool, or in a district, if they are a school-age student.
And really, what are those services that are available? You listed off a few of them, but
Right.
overall, what are all those services?
Right. So we mostly work with districts in these 2 areas, media tech and EdServ. So media tech would be all the way from a consultant going in and helping you integrate learning in your classroom with the use of technology. At Grantwood AEA, we provide support services for 26 school districts. So when you go to get your laptop computer or desktop computer fixed, it's actually a Grantwood AEA employee. You know, we're able to hire people centrally and kind of distribute them out to the 26 school districts. So that would be the range of things we would have in technology. Educational services. Most of what we do in educational services would be work with schools and teachers and administrator in improving their craft. So better teaching strategies, implementation of standards and benchmarks in the core areas, math, reading, and science. We have on-site professional development here at Grantwood AEA. We go to districts to provide professional development, and we actually have online or asynchronous professional development, including micro credentials in that area. And then special ed, like I said, we would help facilitate IEPs. We have 2 main charges legislatively in the area of special ed. Child find. So we help districts and or parents or preschools identify students who may need special ed services. And then we also have general supervision, making sure that IEPs in the end are implemented in a legal and accurate manner, that every student gets FAPE, full and appropriate public education.
So for the AEA, how long have you been in the state providing those services and those?
Yep, the AEAs were created in about 1974. And what they did is they consolidated 99 county schools of education. And so the legislature passed bills that would make more equitable, economic, and streamlined services available. So rather than having 99 county schools, they created 15 AEAs. Then over time, those have been consolidated to the 9 current AEAs that you see in the state of Iowa today.
And so you talked a little bit about supporting individuals diagnosed with disabilities. So those students, as soon as they enter that education system until they graduate, many students will stay till the age of 21. They have the ability to do that from federal law. Are there other specific things that you see maybe that are needed or are lacking for those students diagnosed with disability?
I think probably the important thing is most people don't realize that we serve students from birth to 21. So you kind of mentioned the 21, but we actually serve students and families at birth. If, for example, you have a premature baby, you oftentimes are visited by a staff member, the family, and trying to determine if there might be special ed needs right from the beginning with a premature child. So, if you happen to be birth to 3, you generally could contact the AEA individually or ourselves to help determine if services are needed. If you're in a preschool, you can work with your local preschool because most preschools we've had some interaction and some work with. And obviously, if you're school age, you could work with your school. If all else fails, we have a contact us button on our website. So if you're not sure what services are available or where you might start, we obviously can kind of help you navigate that path.
And that's interesting that you said that because we have a lot of parents, sometimes grandparents will say, hey, how do I get those supports? Who do I need to contact? What do I need to do? So I think that's helpful that there's, different means about which that they can do that. Why is the AEA so important to our state?
We provide, and I think if you talk to most people around the state who are involved in education in some way, invaluable resources in those 3 areas. If the AEAs weren't performing those tasks, who would? That would be the question. So absent the AEAs, how would it happen? And honestly, in some states, most of that is left up to school districts. But the AEAs were set up so that we could equitably and economically provide services. For example, we have around 100 speech language pathologists that serve every school building, public and accredited non-public school in our 7-county area. Without the AEA, basically schools or consortiums would have to try to replicate that service. And I can guarantee you it wouldn't be as efficient and it would not be as economical. You can never have 7 consortiums doing in a 7-county area what maybe one entity could do. So we're able to send speech language pathologists to Cedar Rapids as well as English Valley, or Olin, who has 65 to 70 students in their elementary. So we're able to individually meet the needs of districts and families and students, quite honestly, in all 3 of those robust areas. So without an AEA system, I don't know what the state would do to replicate the work that we do.
Do you see any challenges in the next few years for the AEA?
Obviously there are always political or legislative challenges. I've been in education for 30 years as either a teacher, principal superintendent, or chief administrator. And there are always talk about efficiencies with the AEA system. And honestly, quite frankly, we welcome that. When we talk to legislators or the governor, we actually say, we'd love to be part of a solution of how we can better deliver services. But we also think that that should be part of the discussion. Everyone, parents, families, schools, the AEA system, politicians, the DE, we would welcome a broad-based look at services because we want to be as efficient as possible. But we also know that we provide services that would be nearly impossible to deliver in any other system across the state.
If there was any last thing that you could say, so we can still meet our 10 minutes, is there anything that you would say to caregivers, or whether that be a parent or a grandparent, an aunt or an uncle, if they are needing those aids?
I think what I would tell them is the best thing that you can do is contact someone about whether your child needs services. So if you're a parent or a relative, you can start with the school district or the preschool. If they're under that age, obviously you can contact the AEAs directly. And if you just don't know where to start, by all means, contact us because we will actually take you or point you to the appropriate person. It might be a school district principal, it might be a preschool lead or teacher, but by all means, we're open to collaboration because we collaborate every day with all of our service providers and all of our clients. So if you don't know where to start with us. and we can help you find the appropriate people and services that your student or child might need.
Okay, perfect. And so let's say that I live in Southern Iowa and I am not supported by Grantwood AEA. Do
Right.
I need to just contact my local AEA? How do I find them? What does that look like?
Probably the best thing you could do is just to do a Google search for Iowa area education agencies, and pretty quickly you can find, we work together on many things, and we provide very similar services. So we have a website that'll probably pop up, IAEA, Iowa Area Education Agencies, where you can find my AEA. So if you put an address in or a school district, or you could just do Google search. I live in Burlington, Iowa. Which AEA, most likely within the top 4 or 5 Google searches, you're going to find, the appropriate AEA for you. Burlington and Southern would either be Mississippi Bend or Great Prairie, depending on where you lived in our southern or southeastern part of our state. And so you can easily find, I think, the AEA that covers your hometown or your school district.
Perfect. Well, John, I want to thank you for today for joining me for chat. If you have any questions regarding Let's Chat and this conversation with AEA, you can contact me at Krambeer at arceci.org. I look forward to seeing you for our next conversation.